Welcome to Season 2 of Pod Practice, where Mama Bird alumni Quinn Feiner, Mikey Lund, and myself, Alex Atkins, talk about Ultimate from the perspective of players and coaches. We want to engage with you, so please reach out, say hi, ask a question, give some feedback. We look forward to talking with you. To reach out, follow us on Instagram or YouTube at podpractice_pod. Listen on Spotify at Pod Practice, or email us at show@podpracticepod.com. I hope you enjoy this episode. Intro us, Quinn, right off the dome.
Yeah, you want to intro us?
I never do the intro.
You don't have to, but you could.
And that's the intro. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
All right, Mike, take us away.
Alrighty. It's been a couple weeks. I've been on the road. I'm tired as fuck, I'll be honest, but happy to be back. Happy to be recording and seeing you guys. No guests today. We thought we'd take a little bit of time here to answer some listener emails that have been sitting in our inbox for a few weeks. And apologies for the delay on those. I don't know. Maybe we should try to do fan email episodes a little more frequently so we can get these out and they don't have to pile up. But as always, appreciate the feedback, the interaction. It is, again, our favorite thing is getting messages from anybody who listens out there, because it does make this so much more fun. Most of the emails and messages were regarding the topic of adult resources that we had talked a decent amount in probably about a month and a half ago, lack thereof, and what exists out there, like Excel Ultimate, other resources that have been out there, Rise Up, GPP, some of like the workout stuff, Tobu, we have local resources, Ollie. And we actually, on the note of adult resources, have kind of shifted the way we are thinking about our own preseason with Bravo this year, and trying to really focus on teaching a little bit more, community engagement and interaction, and using that as a little bit as our open tryout, knowing that the overlap we have with UFA is so significant. It's kind of hard to fit anything in a more official tryout capacity. And I'm hopeful that it will be more meaningful to people long term. But I found two of the obstacles have been really our lack of, actually, the main obstacle is our lack of time. Right? It's like less than 2 hours of daylight right now in Colorado. So, and by the time people can get there, it's usually around, what would you say, Quinn? What, last week we started warm-ups at 6:10, 6:12?
Yeah, I mean, that's warm-ups, and then it takes however long to get going. Like, we're not playing mini till 6:30 at like the earliest, and then we have an hour and 20 minutes till it's dangerously dark and not fun at all.
Right. So the teaching is minimal when you consider, like, we also want to just use it to get reps, like get play, get touches, and not necessarily spend a bunch of time drilling. Although I will say we have preseason later today. I was thinking about maybe doing 2 mini fields and having an optional field. Like, if people want to focus on learning, maybe I'll take a group and lead that. Anyway, that was like a long-winded intro to this topic, and what I thought we'd do is read portions of a couple of our longer, more in-depth emails, and see what the two of you think. What do you guys think about that?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I am excited.
Clearly.
Rock and roll.
Okay, so our first email is very detailed and one of the best emails we've gotten. This listener asked not to be mentioned by name, so We will not, and I will do my best to not read anything that personally identifies you. But the topic, the gist of this email before I read any of it is that sort of outlining what he feels like the biggest obstacles are for mid-level players to make the jump to like an elite level, or even just learn in more detail. I'll read the three main points here. The first one is lack of committed and knowledgeable coaches, and I think that's definitely pretty obvious to everybody. What he says is, let's see, this is the biggest one, and is a problem at all levels. The answer has to be pay them more money eventually, but that seems so far away. Personally, he'd rather, or I'll just read it verbatim. Personally, as someone gainfully employed outside of Frisbee, I would rather any extra money go towards increasing playing opportunities for kids who can't pay their own way, which we've talked about a lot in like kind of the conflict there. He goes on to say, until then, I think the best thing the community can offer is just a sense of community. Let's see. The last couple of years, I've benefited a ton from other coaches. I've enjoyed learning from them and value those connections. For people like that youth coach you mentioned, I think that's probably Peter, Cosmic Pete. Lifelong learners who enjoy the process of improvement, access to other people who are similarly obsessed with getting better is highly rewarding. It's hard to know how to structure this in club. In some sense, we're competing in the same division, so those coaches shouldn't be giving up a competitive advantage to me. But longer term, I think nationally competitive teams benefit from having knowledgeable coaches developing younger players on those teams below them. Do you want to weigh in, or do you want me to read all three of his points?
I guess, no, we could go one at a time, maybe. Go one at a time.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I have a lot of thoughts on this, but
yeah.
Do you want to kick it off?
I think that one is interesting. Helping. And I think this is something I've thought about in Colorado too, because in Colorado, there's, like if we're looking at the open division, like there's Johnny Bravo, and then there's a bunch of teams after that. Like, there's like your Fungi, there's your ISO, there was Inception for a while till they joined with Fungi.
Speaking of the men's division.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I don't know how many more there are, but like, I think that's probably makes sense from like a driving perspective and like people being in their area and stuff. But it does it would be nice if people had the ability to like consolidate from like a clear, okay, this is the top team in the area if it's going to be Bravo. And then there's like a clear second team in the like Denver metro area, and then like a clear third team. And that way people could like really build up. But I do think like the biggest difficulty of that is having coaches, because I think people would get attracted to a team. Like, let's say if a second tier team had a really high level respected coach, I think people would get attracted to that. And also it's helpful because if that coach, let's say the second team is Fungi and that coach understands what kind of concepts Johnny Bravo is doing, then people running on Fungi are going to start learning, what Bravo is doing, and it's easier for them to work up. And there's not like this, like, exclusivity that is like, if you've been on like, the teams that run the stuff, you have an advantage at a tryout process or something because the sets and the defenses that those teams are running. So I think like from that perspective, I think like that would be really cool if you could have those more organized teams kind of building up to like the highest level teams.
Like an academy structure, sort of? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, just like a more clear set of like, this is the top team, this is the clear second top team. And obviously like they'll be competing against each other. But if you could just have a little more structure there, I think it would help people like work their way up to the system. And if I think like one of the biggest things is like the organization and the coaches for that. But I think like it would help players develop a lot because like also like we were saying, like, and I really think, and I was saying this on one of the last pods, but I really think like the biggest time to grow is like during those seasons when you're practicing consistently, like playing reps. And so I think that would be really important.
I might actually read all 3 of these now that I think about it, because some of these tie in to what you were just describing.
I agree. Yeah, I'm looking at them too, and I think they do tie in.
And he I think he even mentioned what you just did about lack of, like, the best way to learn is over a period of time, right? Like you can't do just a weekend mini camp or clinic, and
watch a video.
I would say even the what'd you say?
Or watch a video.
Yeah, which I think our next listener email also mentions. Like the setting that I'm really interested in potentially in the future of what I call lessons, like what do they call it? Pro lessons for like if you have a golf pro or a tennis pro. Are those just lessons?
Or like training.
Well, like they have coaches. Like
yeah, like I'd be interested in that, like a setting like that. Anyway,
a training program.
Yeah, like maybe an off season, instead of like, it would be cool. Instead of me coaching a team, maybe I would have a group of 6 people. Like, say, I just work with you twice a week. But like, I'll be honest, I would love to do that, and I'd be highly incentivized to do that for like Bravo people or Summit people or Mama Bird people. But I would not do that for free. Personally, I would not do that for free, just given like my lack of bandwidth in general.
It'd be a lot.
Yeah,
it'd be a lot. It'd be a lot to do.
Yeah,
because I think the other thing is you want to like invest yourself in it. Like when I was like thinking about doing more coaching, it's like you want to like invest and like fully get into it and do the best job you can and like really spend a lot of time on it. But when you have to do all these other things and you just like make money and other things that like are important for your health and well-being, like you just can't really like make the time for it.
Legitimate career, I would do it for a lot less money than I demand for.
Mm-hmm. Even if it was like one of those things where like, let's say it'd be great for people in the area, but like, let's say if someone, across the country wanted to do it but it was like you made them a program to do 2 to 3 times a week, but then they also have the ability to then like, maybe like 3 times of the week they go out to the field or to like a gym and do what you're suggesting, probably like a field something. But then there's also like coupled with that is like you hop on a call and like are able to like talk through things or maybe like, that kind of stuff.
I would imagine that's probably what Excel's like.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read these. So point 1 was lack of committed and knowledgeable coaches. Point 2 here is lack of meaningful playing opportunities. Let's see. The last couple seasons post COVID have been horrible for tournaments at the non-TCT level. I've never been a tournament director, so I don't know what needs to change to incentivize this. Hopefully it will pick up again. Speaking from a mid-regionals perspective, one of the other big challenges to adult player development is lack of access to elite level competition. If we're lucky, we get 1 or 2 national level opponents at regionals. We don't see any before that because they're all playing at TCT tournaments we can't get into. This was the biggest excitement for this particular team this past summer about qualifying for select flight. Finally, we can stop beating up on bad teams and playing, and maybe start losing to some better ones. Let's see here. I know the best teams hate going to sectionals and wasting their time against bad teams. I especially know it sucks to get hurt by some overzealous 21-year-old bidding through your back. I would love for there to be some middle ground where high-level teams don't waste a full weekend winning games 15-2, but mid-level teams can earn higher-level opportunities, not dependent on the previous summer's results. Players can't feel the speed of high-level games without being in them. This is kind of funny. He says, I can hear Pavel from a few episodes back, from a lot of episodes back, honestly, saying, win your fucking games, which is fair enough. But the current TCT format means you have to win your games at the previous fall regionals to earn good competition in this summer's regular season. I think that's a very common criticism of TCT at this point. I think, I won't read that last paragraph. And then the last point, which I think you spoke to a little bit, or I thought of when you were talking, Kins, good club teams become victims of their own success. At the mid-regionals level, if you develop a good young prospect, you know the top team is going to snap them up next season. At Toby. This drove me crazy as a player, where anytime a club I was on felt like we gained momentum at one regionals, we'd lose all our top contributors and have to start over the next summer. And, Quinn, you did play a year of Inception while you were still in college.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think we all knew you weren't going to stay with Inception. I've shifted my mindset as a coach, and that's now my goal. The more players I can graduate to the next level, the happier I'll be. Let's see, what can I talk about here? Conversely, if you do a good job as a coach, those top clubs will try to snap you up too. He mentions Alex Crew. He used to coach Mad Men, and now has been with Trek for a while now, including their championship run last year. So it sounds like after he left, Mad Men fell apart and Vault formed shortly after. Let's see. I'm gonna skip probably the rest of that because it is sort of PII, personal identifiable information. This makes me think of so many things, like the victim of your own success. What do you guys think? Any thoughts come to mind right away from those 2 points?
First thing is, I do think the current tournament structure is kind of shit. It's not great. And in the way this guy talks about the tournament structure just makes me think we should have something more similar to the Premier League and European soccer, where it's teams get relegated one, which I think would be crazy. And this is all just not possible because of money constraint, time constraints, all that stuff. But teams getting relegated would be cool, and teams getting promoted would be cool. And also things like the cups they do during the European soccer season. The top level teams like Man City is going to be playing against second, third tier teams in those tournaments. Those teams are getting opportunities to do that. Which, that's a pipe dream, obviously, but that would be cool. And then kind of going off of being victims of their own success, that's true in all sports though. And bad teams or teams that don't have a lot of money. For example, in the MLB, the A's, their payroll is 40 mil. They're never going to be able to keep talent just because of that.
Without Billy Bean?
Without money. So that's a problem in pro sports in terms of money. But then an example from the NHL.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're good. But even in Moneyball, what did they made the playoffs and lost in the first round? They didn't do that well, right? But then an example that doesn't involve money in the NHL, teams that are in undesirable locations have trouble keeping top talent and getting top talent. So the Columbus Blue Jackets nobody from Finland or Russia or Canada wants to come play in the NHL in fucking Columbus, Ohio. No offense. Like, they just don't. Like, it's a thing. Like, players will not sign there because they do not want to play there because of the location. So that's like, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's a problem through all pro sports.
NBA too.
NBA too, yeah.
I would say NFL not as much, probably.
Probably not. A lot of good locations in the NFL. I'm trying to think of the Browns have been bad for
they were
ever, right?
The last, yeah. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Point taken. Interesting thing about their TCT originally is that the goal was sort of a Premier League atmosphere, I think, where teams do get. I think that's the point of the flights.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original intent, but I don't think it has been executed well. I think it would be cool to have more opportunities to play good teams for sure. It's tough. It's definitely it's going to get tougher in club because honestly, top club teams are playing less because of pro. And what I think though is maybe what would maybe be cool is, we have a D3 nationals in other sports. Quinn, I know you played pickleball the other day with your roommate.
My roommate.
They have 3-5 tournaments. They have 3.0 tournaments, 4.0, etc. Like, I guess it is sort of the same thing, but as what the different flights are. But maybe there should be a nationals level tournament for the what is it the select flight teams?
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, and the current algorithm decentivizes that's the right word?
Yeah.
Top level teams from going to those lower level tournaments, because if you don't win by such a large margin against teams, you go down in the rankings. So that's like very, very decent. I can't say that. Like we don't want to go to those tournaments because of that. De-incentivizing.
Decent. Yeah.
Yeah. You get the idea. But we don't go to those because it's like, if we don't beat this team by 10, which we probably won't, because that's hard to do against just about any team, we're going to go down in the rankings. So it's like we're almost wasting it's not a good idea. So there's that too.
No, that would be cool if there was a tournament like a Nationals B tournament, just for the next teams, and then the top and then you can just have flights for that as well. I mean, yeah, I guess it really just is more tournaments that allow people. But then I think you get into the whole thing, you brought up pro, Mikey, and I think that throws a whole nother wrinkle in it.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking about it the other day. It's just, and I think it's interesting because I don't know when we were talking about that, but it does seem like USAU focuses a lot on the top level, which probably makes sense, or had made sense more. But I think that at some point, if the UFA gets to a point where they're paying people and stuff, it's gonna reach a tipping point where the norm is for top level players to play in that, if there's really more benefits in terms of money and stuff. And once the competition is more appealing over there as well, then there will really be no advantages to club over pro. And then it's going to be interesting what USAU should be focusing on, because will they still focus on nationals and whatever when it's not really the highest level of the sport anymore? I think that's a interesting take. And maybe it could be club is the it would be very cool if somehow club nationals was the I don't know. I forget what the league below the Premier League is, but like the champion. I think it's like the Champions League. Or, no,
Mm-mm.
something. It's something like that, dude. It is.
The Champions League is.
I know the Champions League is the
ones.
best one, but
it's called the Championship.
Okay, so pardon me, everyone.
But there's a very large difference.
Huge difference for sure. But so it'd be cool, maybe possible if like the USA U Nationals was like the championship, and then a UFA was the Premier League,
or USAU was like the Premier League, and the UFA was like the Champions League.
Yeah, but no way. Oh, yeah,
because the Champions League is all of the best.
Totally, but the problem
Europe.
is they're in the same country. Like that, I don't think. I see what you're saying, but I don't think that's gonna work because they're just the same. It's gonna be like the same teams, like because I don't think people would be. It wouldn't be like teams from club would be going to the UFA to play. You know what I mean? Like it would be like a clear like the top. Like how I imagine it is like the top players would be playing in the UFA, and then the people not making those teams would be playing on like the top players in Colorado would make the summit, and then the next top players on that would make Johnny Bravo and go to
Bravo
nationals.
Bravo would be like the feeder team for the summit.
Yeah.
I see.
I do like the concept of academy. I keep calling that structure academies. In general, maybe not across leagues, but I like that a lot. I do think it just if the two organizations really cooperated, that would be cool.
Also a pipe dream.
Like USA's Ultimate, in my opinion, now. By the way, when I was your age and I was filling out the surveys, I was like, I don't give a shit about youth. Just focus on the top. Like that was what I was filling out the surveys.
So have you changed your mind?
Completely 180. Like I think USA Ultimate should only be national teams, like the USA teams and youth, college, as well.
And so then in some ways there's still because I agree, like they kind of need to. It seems like they're trying. I have no idea, but what it seems like is, from my perspective, is that they're trying to hold on to this like top level in the USA with like nationals, and like they don't want to admit that like the UFA will get big, and if the UFA gets big, that people will go over to that, and it seems unrealistic. I don't know what they're like. Let's just say in their like 20. I don't know how far ahead they plan, but even in like a 5 to 10 year plan, like are they thinking that they're going to still have the top players playing USAU nationals? Because
I wonder what they're.
If they are, I think that's wrong. I think they're wrong. I think they aren't like admitting to themselves that the UFA will probably get to the point where the top players are playing in that. And then I agree they should be. And then like I think their twist should be that like they can still have the national team. So even if they want to brand like or feel like they have the top level of the sport, they can still think that way because they'll still have all the national teams, which would theoretically be the highest level, and then they can focus on like the youth and stuff. But I think they need to like let go of the idea that like nationals is going to be the top thing, and I think that would allow them to work with the UFA if they had that kind of like mindset.
And then the UFA season could be like 30 games long.
Could be longer for sure.
Games. Like that would be sick, dude.
Well, and it could be like European soccer where maybe there's like, you know, there's the UFA and then there's like tournaments where maybe like if there's other, eventually you get like,
and then we got relegation and promotion. Dude.
Eventually there's going to be like a top, you know, pro team from like Colombia and Australia and whatever. So then there could be like, you know, the Champions League, that kind of shit.
That would be cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like it'd be really dope.
Sockeyes getting relegated.
Oh, they've been relegated, man. They've relegated themselves. Literally, they have to go to sectionals. I think that is relegation. I think having to go to sectionals is relegation.
You know, after I said this out loud, though, I am realizing that it is not necessarily an initiative driven by USA Ultimate. It is driven by the players because the players are still choosing to play club. Even if USA Ultimate is
Because club is sick, dude.
Like they still have to offer club, right? Because
yeah.
Like you have to offer something for the people to play.
No,
or somebody has to at least.
And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in the ability, because it seems like there's there's bare minimum cooperation between the UFA and the USAU, and I think like that's because they see themselves as like competing for this like crown of like the highest level of.
See, that is probably my opinion too. But as I think about it more, it's as much the people who are playing. I think that I will finish my coaching career. My playing career is done, but I will also finish my coaching career.
Come on, Mike.
Still valuing club more than pro. Like I think that pro is a better model, but I think that club is more meaningful to me
right now, for sure.
I bet that Kins and I will both finish our playing careers with that similar mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say like when that, because I just think there's going to be a tipping point, but you almost starting to, I mean, who knows? It's really hard to predict these things, honestly, but like, I don't know. I think like if a Jack, it just is going to take players like that, like Jack and like those kind of players only playing UFA and slowly, like, I think especially if younger, it's like a societal thing of like when the culture will switch to like UFA being the more competitive, like prized thing. And honestly, with the younger kids, like growing up, I mean, it's just hard to say, but we're probably not. Yeah, I agree with Quinn that we're probably not there for our playing careers. Like, it'll probably take more than like 10 years. It'll probably take more like 20.
15, 20, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's sad?
What?
In like 20 years, all the best players are going to be these kids, and they're just not going to give a shit about Johnny Bravo winning a national championship in 2022.
Well,
it's going to mean
no one
nothing.
gave a shit. It's only like why it's like not. That's okay. That's I don't know.
I was just kidding.
Actually, we do. So we've talked a lot about. We've really honed in on the challenges. We haven't really offered any solutions, I suppose.
Well, my solution was kind of trying to get organized with
across teams.
Like, I think it takes the cooperation of like, if you could get the leaders of teams and groups in your area to come together and be like, we're going to try to make, because I think with that kind of mindset, you could make it work where like, this is the top team in Denver, this will be the next top team. And I think that's just like harder to do because like cooperating, figuring those things out would take time and is difficult. But I do think like that would be the solution. And the other thing would be loyalty, is like you'd kind of have to like need some coaches to stay, or maybe not actually.
I mean, think about with Mama Bird, KJ he was an A team coach, but he would spend a ton of time with the B team. And I think it does take things like that. I think you're right. There has to be so much cross-pollination. It has to be that type of academy structure, and it has to be commingling of resources. There has to be consistent. You don't have to work on the same exact things, but the coaches probably do need to be in sync a little bit. But like, I guess Jay Dunlop, I think he coached Fungi last year, but there's like, I'm friends with Jay, but I didn't talk to him at all about what they're doing. It'd be a really cool thing if a team really I know teams have sort of done this, like half done this, especially at the beginning of seasons.
Maybe that's our product, integrated. Is we like help the areas consolidate and create structure that allows them to coordinate these types of teams.
One other obstacle, this is still sort of true even with UFA, less so because it's like 20-person game rosters, but like the tournament format requires the top team to be carrying 26 person round. I'm 24, 26, because you have to play so many fucking games, and it's like it's a war of attrition, basically. So you really do have to hoard the top talent to survive, basically. Like if you played fewer games, if the game was structured a little bit differently, or tournaments, then like you could theoretically have a team of 16 folks, and then it would be a lot more realistic to be upset by the quote unquote second best team in the area if you had some of those other players playing on that next team.
All right, so let's just be like team organizing consultants. Like we go into let's start with like, I don't know, some area that has a lot of frisbee, like California, somewhere that sucks too, but is like has a lot of frisbee players. And we go in and our agents contact the different captains and coaches of like the different teams in the area, and we just like make a group chat and facilitate discussions and help.
Dude, you guys have a lot of strengths. Organizing people, I cannot imagine, is your best one, though.
Nope.
But we don't have to organize. We have to organize them to organize themselves. We're just the spark. They can keep the fire going, you know?
Yeah. I want to read the next.
We did start the fire. It was always her. Okay. Go on.
I'm going to read the next email. I guess really quickly, the last point I'll make is if there just needs to be more coaches in general. He did mention resource like money. It would be better spent towards youth, but what does that mean? It's almost like when I give $1 to some charity, like I'd love to think that it's going to that cause, but I almost feel like you should. Maybe it's because I am a coach and I would like to be paid more money for it, but I think we just need to incentivize more people to coach.
It's sad because everything we talked about just goes straight back to money. Like,
money
would literally solve every single issue that we just talked about. And it sucks ass, but it's just true.
Money talks.
Like,
unfortunately,
it's just sucks ass. But that's exactly what it is.
Okay, let's read the second message, and we'll try to go through this one a little bit quicker. This one's from Abi Krishnan. Hopefully I'm saying your name correct. You've sent us a couple DMs and they've been great. Thank you. Abby says, "Hey, Mike, Kids, Quinn, very big fan of the show. Thanks for all the work you put into it." Thank you for saying that. I coach a college men's B team and a mid-level mixed team, so I appreciate a lot of the coaching insights, in particular from the show. I was listening to the latest episode where you talk about creating resources for skill development in addition or separate from Excel. And I had some ideas maybe worth considering. Given the large variety of teams I coach, I definitely found myself thinking a lot along the lines of Kins, where I ask, what is actually useful for getting better at Frisbee and what is fluff? And so I've had to really critically evaluate a lot of the activities, drills, ultimate teams take for granted. For some background on my ideas, I recently started learning about the constraints-led approach, CLA, and ecological dynamics, which I actually don't know what that is. So look into that. He says, I like a lot of the things that Ian French from one of the previous episodes talked about. I think the main thing from reading CLA and ecological dynamics and from coaching myself is that there is a huge cap on skills that can be developed from isolated 1v0 practice and nitpicky instruction. Things you talked about on the pod, like noticing particular break windows and hitting them, are really hard to work on 1v0. And I think anyone trying to get better at Ultimate could benefit a lot from activities that maybe do require a friend or a few friends. The idea being you give a small group activity, maybe an opportunity for action to pick up on, and whoever does the activity can through trial and error, self-organize and find a solution that works for them. As an example, different types of break mark activities that target different skills, tag/agility games, variations of mini that target particular skills could all be useful. I think that would translate a lot more to skills in a real game than to any regimented 1v0 routine. By the way, I'm going to keep reading, but feel free to interrupt. He says, I think that kind of individualized learning is even reflected in the experiences you talk about in the pod, e.g. Kins being able to outread someone who can maybe outjump him or a less athletic player, finding skillful ways of getting open and developing strong game sense. Also, you think about like maybe a lot of the European players in the NBA, Jokic, Luka, etc. He says, I also think some of the throwing form videos actually might be ineffective. There's a lot of academic literature that suggests that focusing too much on the movement of your body, joints, etc., internal focuses, hinders your ability to achieve a movement outcome. On the other hand, working on analogies and different external focuses, I think one of you talked about experimenting with blades, edges of the disc, or different trajectories when teaching someone how to throw, seems to be more effective than telling people the exact elbow arm angle required to throw an OI flick. As another example, I thought that the external focus that Joe White talked about on the pod, throwing at a tree and getting the disc to land just at the tree, was incredible, and I stole that as a good cue. I still haven't figured out how to use this external focus and analogy method of teaching for hucks, but I think people would benefit a lot from different external focuses for developing better throws. Then he says some nice words about the pod. It's really elevated how I think about the game, and I think benefits the community a lot. Thank you for saying that, Abby. He also had a question about pressure in a different message. We'll see if we can get to that. Anything immediately come to mind for either of you?
Not immediately, but it was
less of a question, I suppose, and more of commentary on things we have discussed.
Yeah, but very, very thoughtful.
Yeah, I think like the note about 1v0 being ineffective, I think that definitely rings true to me. I think working on skills 1v0 is better than nothing, right? If you're never throwing at all and you throw into a lacrosse goal or around a cone, is helpful to an extent, or cutting drills is helpful to an extent. I think this is also one thing that I was harping on a little bit in terms of, Quinn, I sent you that funny video of that guy making fun of like pitching drills. I'll link that in this episode. But basically just like really convoluted ways to load a movement or to like practice a movement when you're not actually in the sport setting and trying to replicate it in a gym setting. I don't know. It's hard to measure the return on investment in those situations versus just play the fucking sport with a specific focus.
Yeah, it kind of relates back to just like the throwing too, and how this person talks about like maybe focusing on the elbow angle and all that stuff is like convoluting it too much. Just like go out and do it. I think there's more than one way to throw a very effective throw in Frisbee. Like there's really good throwers out there that look super weird doing it. And it doesn't matter. Like as long as you know how to do it and you can do it well, however you're doing it, it's like, it doesn't really matter. I think the 1v0 stuff is interesting because I do think you can get a lot out of it. As long as you're just like doing it with really, really good intent. It's like if you're out there throwing, if you have a pile of 50 discs and you go throw them into a lacrosse goal for, 50 throws and you're doing it kind of half-ass, like you're not going to get shit out of that. But if you go out there and you like really throw it, work on different like pivots, work on all that stuff, like you're going to get a lot out of that. It's the same in the gym too. If you go pick up 135 pounds in the trap bar and you do it like pretty slowly without a lot of intent, then probably wasting your time for the most part. But if you go in there and you put 135 on the trap bar and you lift it with a ton of intent and like try to jump with it or do something with a lot of intention behind it, you're going to get a lot out of it. So I think it's just how much you're, holding yourself accountable in what you're doing.
Yeah. I think like the muscle mind, or what do they, mind muscle? I don't know how they say it. That connection is super important, and having the mental model. But how do you develop the mental model? Mm-hmm. I suppose without actual experience or instruction. Because like when you do these things, you do have the real world experience.
That's true.
So you can sort of like, okay, I'm envisioning this situation, and like you are building a muscle mind connection, those neural pathways that other people can probably, but it's probably just less effective when they're probably more focused on just the act of throwing. I think about a person who I was watching on Instagram throwing a bunch of forehand hucks, and the way this person was doing them, ton of distance, like great looking throw, but like the way this thrower was pivoting and throwing with this IO edge, it's like you can only throw that in a situation where you have power position and no mark. Like if you have a mark on it, you like a flat mark, you that throw's not going off. So, and every single rep in this, 60-second or whatever, however long reel, yes, you did. Yes, that is a person. I won't say that person out loud. But yeah, like I actually forget where I left that off, but I think you get the point. Like it's not effective to. It doesn't necessarily translate to on the field.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I agree with Quinn. I think the intent is important. I think the better you get, there's the diminishing returns. Like I think if you're just trying to get better at throwing, like you're not super adept at throwing, maybe like you just really need to work on, like maybe you just can't consistently throw a backhand like 50 yards. I think getting out to a field and throwing a backhand is great. But then you get to the point where like once you can do that, you've got to start now doing it in like a game situation, or even you can go one step up and like if you have a cutter there with you who's of your friend and they can run deep for you, so now at least you have a moving target. But I think like just going out and getting like just going out with yourself once, like I think for most like top players, especially like top throwers in like on like an elite team, like just going out by themselves to throw the disc, like you wouldn't do it that often. I don't even think you really would go to do it because I just don't think you would get that much out of it. Like I think there would be just like better things that you could spend your time on. I think like it depends what level you're at, like when you're going to do it. Now
imagine you're trying to do this stuff and you have that thing that you can't picture things in your head. that one, it's called, hang on.
I don't know what it's called. I've heard of that in like the Huberman visualization podcast.
Fanstasia. Mike, you ever heard of that? You never heard of that?
I'm surprised I haven't. It sounds right up in my alley.
There's like different levels of it too. Like people can visualize, like can you visualize an apple in your head, like what it looks like, what it would feel like?
Yeah.
Like there's varying levels of people. Like some people can't picture anything at all.
That's crazy. I imagine artists are very good at it.
Yeah, or some people can just picture like the outline of it.
Or maybe they're not good at it, Mikey, and that's why they need to draw it.
Okay. Maybe.
But yeah. Tangent.
Yeah, that is interesting because that probably does limit your ability to build a mental model. I actually was thinking just about the new Mind the Game podcast that LeBron and JJ Redick are doing.
Oh, so good.
It's so good. We should do some of that stuff with like vocabulary breakdown at the beginning that JJ does.
Huh.
But LeBron was talking about players in the NBA who have the inability to mirror a play. So if like the coach draws it up for the play to run to this side of the floor versus this side, but you get on the floor and you're like, you see the defense, so you want to flip it, and some players just can't do it.
And is that just like, is that something that's innate, or does that come with reps? I
mean, both.
Or there's probably a lot of different things going on. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I think that I think that I am actually really good at those things, and that's probably why I enjoy the cerebral part of the game, like not playing anymore.
Yeah.
Pat myself on the back a little bit.
It's funny. It's like I'm even thinking about it. I'm been taking Atlas to training sessions for, say, we have a dog trainer for Atlas, and they're actually really interesting because I think a lot of this stuff is like not just applicable to dogs, like for learning a lot of things. Like it's just like we all have like that 6-month-old puppy dog part of our brain, I guess. Like there's more complications to us, but like a lot of the stuff is pretty applicable. And so I'm thinking about this and like my example too of like, at a certain level, it's helpful to go out and just throw at a field, and then once you get that done, like move up. And like this, it's the same thing like the trainer's been talking about with Atlas, is like once you get the very simple thing down, like okay, he can like stay and you've like walked back like a step, then you like just basically like the point is you keep adding complications so that he can like keep doing it in more advanced scenarios. And it's really just the same thing that like people need to be doing here. Like you got to start with wherever you're at and just keep adding the complications, whether that's going to the field by yourself and then you got to go get a friend. Then maybe you got to add a mark to your throw. Then you got to add like defense to the person. And you just got to keep going on up and up and up until you're doing it in a game and you feel comfortable. But don't go from throwing by yourself in a field and then doing it in a game.
That's the problem.
Like and that's what I do with Atlas.
We talk about the Bob model. Shout out Bob.
Shout out
now
Bob,
coaching
man.
Molly Brown.
Sick.
Brown.
Bobby Brown. But the whole low resistance to high resistance, high
Billy
structure
Bobby
to low
Brown.
high structure is exactly this. But there are steps in between. You can't go from zero resistance to game-like resistance. It has to be zero. Like the 1v0 has a purpose, but then you have to. There has to be iterative steps instead of
like it has a purpose for the people who haven't done anything yet. Like they need to start at that level. But then I don't think like I think for like for us, I don't think it would really have a purpose that much. I think we could go do other things that would be more meaningful. Unless like we really need to work on like some shit.
And I think that's sort of what we're trying to get the most bang for the buck out of these preseason practices. For instance, like we know we don't have time for 1v0. We probably don't even really have time for 1v1 or 1v2 or whatever, 2v2 or like patterns, which we would typically do in a practice. So this constraints-led approach is probably more useful. Like what we are attempting to do is have scripts that have a specific focus. Now, how effective it is, I am not really sure.
Yeah.
It is nice that like people come up to me and ask questions and I can give feedback that's sort of specific to it and get a little bit of that feedback loop going. But even that is like, it's not a ton of constraint. It is just like, here's a minor focus. I don't even recall if we explained the why in week 1 of what we were working on, which is probably pretty critical.
Probably. Sometimes the scripts like I've been realizing with defense because I've been focusing on it, and with the scripts, like the scripts are always starting from a stop, and it's like so easy to just have your body on someone and make it like so much harder for them to do things from those stopped starts. And that's why the good ones are like maybe when you have like a free pass, but sometimes I just get a little tired of the scripts because I like the challenge of like trying, especially when I've been focusing on defense, of like really trying to do it with live play, because I rarely ever see times that it feels like I practice. I had the realization that I practice like these dead disc starts and like defense so much and feel really good about them, but like I just, I maybe do it once in a game, and like the all 99% of the other time is like trying to do it while players are moving and the disc is moving, and it's just like, maybe there needs to be like another level of complication because it just seems not like applicable.
Right. In a practice setting, we would introduce those absolutely and have the offensive focus versus the defensive focus and flip it. But that's good feedback, and maybe I'll think about that on my drive up to Broomfield on how I can.
My mind is blank. All I can think about is Kins and I doing something good on the field and us running off and you giving us treats like dogs.
I know.
That's all I can think about.
Or good like around. Good around.
Or you call a good play and and it works and
what
we
give
you a treat.
I should have a bag of something.
We need that because like right now
what are your favorite treats?
I don't know.
Should I just have like a bag of goldfish or something?
Anything, yeah. Something.
Purple bag of gummy Skittles is pretty good for me.
Okay.
Yeah, like we're also building out Atlas's vocabulary, so like maybe we should do that with players as well. Be like, good slide, good bakery.
I mean,
good
you're
roll.
Absolutely right. Like we talk about these things. We in fact, even at preseason, we were like, we talk about adjust your resistance level as a defender, like be an assistant coach as players on the field. Adjust your resistance level to the person you're guarding, and also ask for specific resistance. If you can handle more and are ready for that, then ask for more challenge.
And we should get TK. Everyone should wear leashes, and TK should get or collars. Everyone should wear collars rather, and TK should have like some sort of correction device so that when people do it well, he corrects us and says no inside hip, no, and you go outside hip.
It's all out. Dog training's all positive reinforcement these days, isn't it?
Mostly, which was another thing that I realized I had to apply to my life. Was he was like, for every like correction that you need to give, like it was what Liam said actually, like quote. I think he like used the same ratio too, to like 5-1, like a pro of just like saying like good lay down when Atlas lays down is like, one, he's learning what the word lay down is, which apparently dogs can learn a lot more words than I thought or initially. And two, you're like praising them. And that way, when you do have to be like, no, don't like shit on my foot. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Whatever they do that you don't want them to do, it's probably not that bad. That way they like, no. Because the other thing that I actually think is very probably applicable to a lot of people on the team and not just little puppies is like, actually it is like the dogs. This is actually a really deep analogy. The dogs are dependent on you as a human because you feed them and everything and take them out. So they're inherently insecure about the relationship because they totally depend on you for everything. And, which means like they have a lot of anxiety about how your relationship is, because if you don't like them, that means, they could die. Same thing for a lot of players because they're dependent on you maybe as a coach or a leader of the team, because if you don't like them, they'll get cut from the team. And so they also may be insecure and feeling anxious about that. And so that's maybe a little bit of a insight from my dog training to the team, and which means give good, positive, reinforcements to make sure you outnumber your negative reinforcements, and maybe pat them on the back.
I think that's a great analogy.
Maybe give them a treat every once in a while.
I've had that thought a lot about training when I was training Boss, on how it relates to real life in so many ways.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to rub someone's tummy when I get to Bravo preseason.
Please do. Okay, Quinn's limited on time here. I think we all kind of are, but
yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, I feel really good about that final thought. Like, I feel like that's a good thought for me to hold on to for the rest of the day.
Here's our celebration. If you throw me a goal, I'm going to roll over on my back and you're going to run up to me. And
These are there's a fucking whole treasure chest of cellies in here that we could get. Oh my! How has no one ever done a dog? Has anyone ever done a dog frisbee celebration? Because I haven't seen it. Like, I'm about to get on all fours for Quinn and just go chase that shit.
Just bark.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then go chase it.
That has been done.
If I could catch it with my mouth, that would be dope.
Okay. What I have one ask. If you guys can think of any, maybe we can either of you think of a good focus. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a constraints led or like a modified game, but can you think of like a focus for game that could be useful?
I mean, anything you want to work on,
like
really.
a real game or like at practice.
Like at practice.
Oh, yeah. I think like incentivizing things like insides in a game and being like, okay, like if you hit an inside, or if you throw an inside and you turn it, you get a mulligan or something like that. I think like just things like that, just finding ways to incentivize that, or if.
Or points. You could do like points, more points.
A twist on that is like if you're playing a game and you're trying to like attack upfield from your dumps with insides, you can't throw backwards throws. You throw, you clear the dump and you hit insides. Something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, really anything like that you want to work on as a team. I think maybe offensive ones are easier. Maybe, probably not. Maybe from a scoring perspective. I don't know. But you could really do anything in breaking the marks, hucks,
it's
attacking the resets. I really like following your throw, kind of like a give go would be like a great thing that I think people struggle on is like once you go. I mean, even I've been kind of like I was talking to Quinn about that, how it's like sometimes I just don't want to run after like because you probably aren't going to get it. And it's like this super good unselfish thing to do, but it's so much easier to just like throw it, take a hard step, and then like pop back open for the easy one. But it's not as good offense, so like that's a good one. All
or
sorts
like
of different
from a
things.
Defensive side, you could incentivize the defense to force the offense into precarious situations, and then the offense could also adjust, and you could provide points to the defense for forcing them to that situation. But then the offense would also have to adjust and not let themselves be forced into this situation. So it's like a twofer.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. I would love to think that one out a little bit more.
Let's get them to throw negative throws behind the disc. And then the offense is like, okay, shit, I'm not going to get free resets behind the disc. I'm going to try to attack upfield.
Yeah.
Does that potentially lead to poor huck decisions or
maybe?
Yeah, I think maybe but yeah, I like it. The defensive ones are, for me, seem harder to think of. Like I'm thinking like maybe you want to try to contest more unders on the open side. Like
don't let them hit insides.
Or like something I do sometimes is just like commit too hard to like the break side when like you're just eventually you're gonna get burned to the open side. Like you gotta have that commitment level, right?
Yeah.
So like just figuring those kind of things out and figure out a way to incentivize it correctly.
The challenge being whenever you incentivize one thing, it potentially will lead to someone gaming it and then creating a
that's
bad
what you're
habit.
trying to figure out for sure. Like yeah, totally. Because if you're like you have to think of the right incentive for like not for like taking away the open side under, because then like what are we just if you make it like no points, then they're just gonna give up free break side throws. So you just figure it out. But I think with like workshopping, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. You just workshop it and observe and like, you know what? I believe in the people trying to get there.
Yeah.
I believe in you guys.
You gotta believe in people.
Yeah.
Try to figure it out themselves.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Okay.
People.
We have a hard stop here coming up. So
hard stop.
Just real quick shout out to Ian Whitman for sending us an email.
Thanks, Ian.
What was it? It was
underwater hockey.
His
wife, I think, plays competitively and had what was it? Was it a Worlds tournament in
Australia?
Australia?
I think it was in Australia. Yeah, kind of sick.
That's dope. Please send us highlights if you have any, Ian. And was it John David Logan, I think, or was it John Logan David? I forget.
Fuck yeah, John.
Asked us if you played for any team that wasn't a Colorado-based team, who would it be? I didn't give you guys any time to think about this. Do you have an answer?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of thought about this, and it's all. I mean, I would have to live in the place that I would play, so it's kind of dependent on the location. So there's like a couple teams that come to mind that were places I would live, and teams that I would play for. I think Rhino is one. Is one of it's. This is in no order. Machine, Revolver, Ring. I think that's it. I think that's my 4.
U.S. teams.
Yeah. I'd also, dude.
Fuck, man. Yeah.
Canada's kind of cool. I'd probably live in Canada somewhere.
What about Japan?
Vancouver is fucking sick. I don't know.
Japan would be sick, but the language barrier is difficult.
I want to play for the Buzz Bullets.
I wouldn't do it.
I
would be considered big on the Buzz Bullets, though. That would be kind of cool.
That'd be cool.
Until you play a U.S. team.
Quinn, are you going to preseason?
Not tonight.
Dude.
Okay.
Sorry, dude.
Kids, you got a quick answer?
No, I don't. I hate everyone else. I got no one.
You like the underdogs.
Maybe I'd play for the Growlers.
Yeah, Philly. It'd be Philly. If I'd make a team in Philly.
Growlers.
Who can tell me whose jersey is this? Who can tell me?
Jonathan Nethercutt.
Shut it.
Shut it.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't it? Okay.
Next.
my answer has changed over the years. I used to be really interested in Seattle Ultimate. I think
you could probably make sockeye right now.
That's actually, you definitely could, though.
Fucking sockeye is just getting it today. Shit.
I think the ring is the one for me. I like those guys. I just like them.
Yeah, I think I would live in South Carolina because of the weather, and I would commute like the 4 hours to Raleigh to play.
If I were to coach another team, by the way, I'm thinking just really quick. I'd be like Maddie saying, "Can I just join your staff and be with Fury?"
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be sick.
All right, Quinn's got to go. We got to start getting ready for preseason. So sweet.
Sick.
That was fun.
Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.